think I'm so excited personally to sit next to this man here because he's done amazing things. And I think it's even more exciting that he's involved in something that's really fresh and seems to be getting the interest of so many people because they're doing it a little bit different. And it's all about the recording industry. And yeah, he's come all the way. Thank you so much to share his knowledge with us. And today we're going to be talking about his new position and the business that he represents, which is called Gamma. Just going to, you've done so many things, Sipho, and I know only you can summarize in a minute or so.
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. No, guys, this has got to be an interactive conversation, right? So good afternoon, everybody. Okay. Because, I don't like presentations where it's only us speaking and we don't hear you. So it'd be nice to hear back from you from time to time. And how many people would like to hear Eddie's song with the MC after? Yeah, I agree. I think we should ask them to play that song for us. My name is Sipho Dlamini. I think the way that I'd summarize my journey in the music and entertainment industry is that I feel that God has prepared me for every job that I was going to do next, because I never planned what I was going to do. So I can't take credit and say, oh yeah, I plan to be in this job in the future. I was studying in the UK at university. We used to throw African parties. Some of you wouldn't have been born, it was in the 90s. I know there's some post-90s people, so they have no idea. Yeah, me and my cousins used to throw African parties, started at clubs. Then we started bringing artists from Southern Africa to do club gigs and then shows at different venues. Then I traveled to South Africa and started managing a group called TKZ. Again, some of you are too young to know that far back. So I've been on the independent label side. I've been on the managing of artists side. I've ran record labels. I think the first international one I worked with was called Creative Kingdom Records, based out of LA, and we had the office in South Africa, opened an office in Dubai, and in China, Philippines, and Thailand. And then I've also been at the collective management side. So I was CEO for SAMRO, which is the Southern African Music Rights Organization. And then from there, I joined Universal Music, and I was CEO for 7 years. And then from there, I came to Gamma. So that's me.
That's quite a lot. And today, I just want to focus on the work, that amazing work that Gamma is now presenting, and all these interesting things there. So, but I just want to start with, just understanding a few things. And I know there are a lot of senior people in the room, but just for those guys who just really want to understand, what is the fundamental role traditionally of a record label?
So I think historically and even in current times, record label was a place you went to if you wanted to be a recording artist and release music, right? Their function was to A&R, so it's to develop artists, the brand, the sound, find the right producers, songwriters to work with an artist, to then pay for the recording of the music, so studio sessions, session artists, band members, etc., and then to distribute and market the music. And I think that's a safe definition of the role of a record label in its core and simplest function.
And at Gamma, you seem to be having also new understandings of this, and of course, contextualizing this in the Gamma world. What does this mean for Gamma? What is Gamma, and how? What are the interesting things at Gamma that you might want to share that perhaps show how this industry has been changing over the years?
So, I've been trying to think of the easiest way to kind of answer that question, and I think I'd like to give an example. You remember, or you know how, like, if you've left your laptop on for many days and you haven't reset it or rebooted or shut it down, it starts to slow down, it gets sluggish, it doesn't operate at its peak, right? You do a software update. You might do a bug fix or whatever, but you have to go through a process of rebooting and resetting. I feel like the music industry hasn't had a reboot or a reset. I think the way that record labels have operated have historically stayed the same. There hasn't been a huge shift in what they do. They still at the core will discover an artist, they will sign an artist, they will own the masters, they'll pay for the recording, and then there are other types of record deals that you can do. Right? You can do a distribution, you can do a license and so forth. But I think what Gamma has done and what Larry Jackson did when he founded Gamma is to kind of reset that model. And it's not to say that what record labels do is wrong or is not effective, but I think what Larry's done is he's created another model that exists in that ecosystem that just has a different approach, right? So I'm not saying throw away the laptop because it was sluggish. It's just, you know, there are other things that you can do to reset, to reboot, and I think that's what Gamma's done. So just, you know, to talk about some of those things. I think the first is the launch of a distribution platform for music and videos called Vidya, right? That platform is a B2B service, so you don't subscribe as a consumer to us to get music, but we distribute music to over 200 partners globally, right? So we don't just focus on Apple and Spotify and YouTube. There are so many DSPs and places that people go to consume music that we make sure that we cover all of them through the distribution platform. What it also does, though, is it has certain functionality that empowers independent labels and artists to be able to run their business, right? Because it's one thing to say, I'm an independent artist, I'm going to do this, I'm going to sign other artists, but then what tools do you have that enable you and empower you to do so? And I'll give an example. On Vidya, we have a royalty center, right? What it essentially does is it allows you as a record label to extract from the system statements for every artist that you've signed and every every person that is part of the recording process. So you can have producer royalties in there, you can have composer royalties. So every month, you're able to, as a record label, without having to hire an accounting firm, to log onto the system and say to each artist, this is your statement. This is what you've earned. These are the number of streams you've received. This is where you've had the streams. This is what money it's generated. And here is your statement. So the platform is enabling independent companies to be able to operate. There's also, you can claim your publishing or your compositions through the platform. We can assist with plaque and certification. So in other words, if you, either in South Africa with RISA or in the US or the UK, hit a certain number of streams, we can assist you to get your platinum certification or your gold certification, so that at least you know that your success is not your own statement, but it's a globally standardized statement. So there's a lot of functionality on that platform that allows for labels and artists to be able to run the business. The other thing that Gamma's done from a partnering perspective is we don't take ownership of masters when we sign artists. So we rather partner with artists and allow them to own the masters whilst we invest in their career and in their journey. And it does two things. First of all, it ensures that any future wealth that is created in that asset, in the music and the catalog, that artist owns that and has the ability to transact in that in the future. But it also starts to empower them to operate more as a business than simply as somebody that is being given things to do and goes to do them. You're now part of the discussion of how do we record? What should the budget be? What should the marketing budget be? Because you're a partner now. You're not just saying, okay, well, I want to spend on 10 videos and it doesn't matter what it costs. You are now part of that ecosystem of spending and earning. So I think those are some of the things to highlight it.
And what kind of artists are we talking about here? Because that's the thing that keeps coming to us at Music in Africa. It's like we have a feeling that a lot of the artists want access to record labels, yet record labels are very selective and I would like you to share with some of the artists here. What kind of artists are record labels looking for, and what are the key things that make you guys want to sign someone?
Yeah, so I think, the way that I would answer that is by saying every other business that you go into, you have to train or study. If you want to become an accountant, you've got to do an accounting course, maybe a degree. If you want to become a lawyer, you've got to do that. There's this notion that artists can exist without doing any studying or learning about the industry, and it's a false notion. We want to work with people that have taken time to study and understand the business and know something about what happens in the business. We're not saying that you need to know everything, but at least read up and understand what the role of an artist is. What should you be doing as an artist? What's the role of a manager? What are you looking for when you say, this person is my manager? What is the role of a booking agent? What does publishing mean? What does composition mean? Do you know what I mean? We want to work with artists that take this business seriously, right? It's the music business. It's not a hobby. Yes, the creative process is fun and it's relaxed. You're in studio, you're making music, there's concerts, performances, but there's still business, there's still learning that should be done. And I think every artist that does that, when they come to discuss and interact with a record label or a recording company or a management company, they've already set themselves higher in being able to understand what they should receive, what the deal should look like, what they should be entitled to, rather than being told, okay, well, you get 10%, you have to do this, you don't get this, and you don't do that. So to answer your question, we want to work with artists that take this business seriously, but also we understand that we have a role to empower and educate and develop talent as well. So we take the time to look at how we can grow people in the business.
Yeah, and that was my next question, actually, because we see that a lot of artists are really not informed. They actually don't understand. The understanding of the music industry is something that is still really limited. And we, at some point, we were thinking that there needs to be like really a significant effort, especially coming from record labels, to actually educate the industry, because I think ultimately, the music starts with the creators. Yet these creators are the people who actually don't really understand what they're doing and how they can make money. Now, record labels understand that game, very well, and that's how they're able to exist. And I wonder, from your perspective, also having been at other record labels, do you feel that record labels are actually doing enough in terms of...
No, not enough.
Yeah.
Not enough. If we're being honest, I think there is more that we could do and there's more that we should do.
Yeah.
And I think, if you look at other sectors, they've done really well. The IT sector, they put in place modules to train and educate and uplift and develop people that want to? Yeah. And other fields, there are programs, there are courses that the sector will create for, to develop, people. And I think the music industry has made a lot of money off talent, but I think we should be investing more in developing and uplifting and upskilling talent, 100%. And I'll give an example. It's a delicate conversation because it's not a black and white conversation. But if you look at what happens when some of our artists on the continent, they come from very very humble backgrounds, right? They haven't been to college. Some of them, they haven't had formal training. They may not have degrees. Some of them may have made very little money up until the point that they became a famous artist. Right. Then all of a sudden, they become an artist. They release a song. They release an album. Now they're getting paid, $5,000 for a booking or 50,000 rands for one night of performing. Right. Some of these artists, their whole household doesn't earn that money in 6 months, and they're earning it in one weekend, right? Nobody's sitting there and talking to the artist about how they should be managing that money, right? As record labels, and it's delicate conversation, yes, because the artist doesn't want you to get involved in their financials, right? The artist will say to you, it's my money, I did the gigs, why are you trying to tell me how to spend my money? But we've got to find ways of having more honest conversations about that. If you see that somebody has money and they have no idea what to do with it, and if you see that they're blowing that money on watches and cars and clothes and things that they don't need, but they're not, buying property or putting money aside, you shouldn't just sit back and let it happen.
Right.
And we've got to find ways as an industry to say, okay, how do we help artists become financially savvy about the business?
Right.
You know what I mean? And I think, so to answer your question, labels and the industry should do more to help develop artists and to help prepare them for the journey that they're going to be on.
Yeah, and we were talking about it just a few minutes ago, that a trend that we always see on the continent, I think everywhere actually, is that when an artist, becomes big and they've got some income to spend, usually they actually start some kind of a record label services. And I've seen quite a lot of this happening, especially in South Africa. And I also see this actually also just, falling away. And that's actually almost a trend, and it's almost like someone gets money, they get some kind of record label, and they sign their colleagues, and you give it 5-6 years, and it's down again. Do you really see a future that doesn't involve the massive investment, the capacities, not just about having, financial knowledge and all that, but understanding the business of music?
Look, I think we definitely, again, need to do more to support artists as they become entrepreneurs, as they become record label bosses, as they sign other artists. And it's something that we look at Gamma and that we're working on. And by the way, we're only 7 or 8 months old, so we still have a lot of work to do. There's still a lot of things that we're fine-tuning and that we're developing, but we're clear on certain things that are in our space that we want to make a difference on. And one of them, yes, is partnering with artists that want to have their own record label infrastructure and helping them build that out. I mean, if you look at some of the artists that we've signed in this short space of time, or partnered with, should I say, Snoop Dogg and Death Row. Snoop Dogg has his own label. He has artists that he has signed that he's developing, and we work with him. Excuse me. We work with him to help provide the kind of infrastructure and support he needs to make that successful. And an example of that is an artist called October London, who's having a fantastic year. That artist is signed to Snoop's label, Death Row Records. They come through Gamma. We help them with the marketing, with the infrastructure that they need, with the resources, and he's having a great year. So it is possible to do it. We're doing the same with Rick Ross and Meek Mill, whose album just came out, but we're also doing the same on the continent. So there's labels that we're starting to work with. An example is DJ Zinhle and Morda out of South Africa, and their label Asante Records. They have, a great ear for talent, great production, and skilled beyond just being an artist. Morda and Zinhle are businessmen and businesswomen. They sit down and they have meetings, they structure a business, they plan, and we're there to support and do what we can to build and to grow that. We're looking at the same in Nigeria, we're looking at the same in Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania. So we're looking at how we can spread that kind of business and that kind of model on the continent so that we're not just doing it in the US or the UK, but that we're doing it right here at home.
And I hope Tanzania will be in your plans, yeah? Let's also just talk about empowerment, because I think that's a trend in the industry. We feel artists want to have, power and control. What does that mean for you? And what are some of the things that you're doing to make this industry better, to maybe to be more transparent and to just facilitate better things and efficiency?
Yeah, so one of them is definitely through our video platform is transparency and data, right? So 2 days after you're released via our platform, you can see the performance of your music straight away. You can see the streams that are being generated, where they're being generated, and the revenue that it's creating. and we pay monthly. So we don't wait 6 months to then tell you, okay, here is a statement, this is what you've earned. Every
Can
month.
I just stop you there? Because
Yeah.
it's incredible. I mean, almost everyone is doing it like after 6 months, and now you're showing that it can be done in 1 month. What does that say about this industry?
Yeah, it needs a reboot.
Yeah.
It needs a reset. And let's explain why. In the old days where we used to manufacture CDs and vinyl, and then you ship it out to retail holds that stock for a while, they send some of it back sometimes, you've got to reconcile. So there was a reason why it took 6 months to pay out, because you needed that time cycle to see whether the music is actually sold or just manufactured but not sold. We're now living in a digital age though. We're not really doing physical and vinyl. There's very few artists that are doing physical and vinyl. If not 95%, maybe higher, is digital. And digital, we know what's happening 2 days after the release. We're tracking it daily, and we can see the numbers. So why wait 6 months? Or why make the artist wait 6 months to get their money? And again, this is just part of the mindset that needs to be reset. When somebody works in a bank as a teller, they get paid every month. That's how they pay their bills, that's how they feed their kids and pay school fees. It's that monthly income that sustains them. Yet, the historical record label business says you sign as an artist, then you got to wait 6 months before you get money. How does that make sense, and how is that sustainable? So for us, it's just a no-brainer that we should be paying artists monthly, and that's what we do. Your question was, sorry, I don't want to lose track. I just felt like it's around empowering, right?
The turnaround time is quite amazing, and I think artists, I've been in conversations where artists were saying, well, we want to be paid, as soon as possible, but I think record labels for some time, they've had also plausible reasons why that can be possible. So it's almost like, okay, this can be done, and I think one of the challenges we see is that there is almost like this fear amongst the creators that when you get to a record level, you're likely to be banned. And I think this is also an industry that would thrive on trust and confidence.
100%. And it's something that we do need to reword, and restate. I think we've got to build trust from the artist's perspective so that they can feel comfortable that, okay, they're not being robbed, they're not being cheated, that transparency. So being able to log on to your phone and, see after 5 days that, oh, I've made $1,000 or 500 Rand or however many shillings. Being able to, at the end of the month, see that money grow and get that money, that cycle builds trust. And it builds confidence that, okay, I'm working with people that are, so again, empowering also comes with giving more information, giving data, being transparent, and having honest conversations. If something isn't working, how do we pivot to something that does work?
Right. I actually wonder also, because in Africa there are few indies that have actually stood the test of time. And I wonder for you, are there some guys that you really think are doing well that you look up to on the continent? Examples of good good stories and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, so in terms of sustainability and being able to maintain a brand through changes, I think Kalau has done a great job in South Africa. I think they're a label that over a period of time they've been able to reinvent themselves and stay relevant to do work. And again, Salam and Babu, how they are committed to building that business out. I think now he owns a radio station and a TV station and other things. That that to me is a true story of success, of empowerment, of being able to come from humble beginnings but learn the industry and then make a success story out of it. So they do exist. It's not to say that we haven't built successful businesses on the continent from an independent perspective. We have, and there are real examples, but we should still do more. I think we can build more, we can invest more, we can carry more.
What would you like to see happening at Gamma, especially with regards to Africa, in the next, say, 2 years?
Yeah, I think it's number one, it's the rollout of the distribution platform. Because I like the idea of anybody being able to release music without having somebody that is a gatekeeper. And that's what video does. Very simple, straightforward contracts. You decide how long you want to sign with us for and how long you're going to distribute with us for. We don't own your masters, you own the masters, you drive your own marketing, but we can provide assistance where you need it. So I think the more markets that video becomes a known brand, that people understand how easy it is to get music out, the better. Because I hate the idea that, you know, it's hard for some people to release music, or they struggle to get their music out. It shouldn't be that way, right? So I think that's one. The other is just improving the ecosystem. Right. So improving how subscriptions in different markets increases, right? Now that's not our business, but it's part of the ecosystem and it's part of how artists make money. If subscriber numbers are bigger on these DSB platforms, then artists will make more money, right? If managers are better skilled, then artists would have better direction in their careers and be able to do better. If booking agents are doing a better job of booking artists in local and international festivals, even better. If we have great relationships with DSPs, then the music will have better visibility. So I think that ecosystem for us and improving that is an important part of our work.
Something that I want to touch on is, I know also you've been involved in big projects, you know, placing African music on huge films and that kind of stuff. A lot of artists want to do that. What could you say, in your experience, the key things that could, you know, take one from making music in the, you know, their bedrooms to actually being on a Wakanda film? What are some of the tips that you could share with a lot of the creatives here?
I think it's being organized and being thorough and serious about your craft. Do you know what I mean? It's not about luck. It's about how organized you are, how seriously you take it, how you think of yourself as a brand, and how you put your brand out into public spaces, right? Being able to make a list of film companies and sending them music or finding out from them who you should send music to. Yes, you know, you might send 100 emails and only get 5 responses, but out of those 5 responses, one of those might be a real opportunity where you can get music into a project. And it doesn't have to be an international thing. You know, Nigeria's film industry is one of the biggest industries in terms of the number of projects that they're putting out. You know, as an artist or producer, have you sat down and made a list of the companies making films, try to get in touch with them, try to send them your music as examples, try to find out what agencies they use and how you can interact with them, right? I think that there's a lot of opportunities for people that take the craft seriously. It's not easy. It's not easy. And yes, you knock on the door 10 times and maybe one time the door's opened. But that one time might be all you need. You know, you talk about the films that we've worked on. We got 6 songs into Black Panther, the first movie. And those weren't songs that were owned by us or that were, you know, controlled by us. It was songs that fit what the studio was looking for musically, right? We managed to work on Black Panther 2 soundtrack. In fact, the director and the Def Jam team set up a writing camp in Nigeria to create songs that they wanted to be in the movie. So the international community is looking for African music and African sounds and writers and producers, something fresh. But if you're not positioning yourself in a place to be seen or for music to be heard, they're not going to come looking for you at your house and your street corner and ask you, hey, do you have anything for us to listen to? Yes. You've got to put in the work to get it out there.
Absolutely. Actually, it reminds me of something that I'm always saying to people who, you know, because of the work that we do, and they see the opportunity, of course, but I think a lot of artists make the mistake of thinking that it's luck, it's you know, just asking for favors and that kind of thing. And what we're actually saying is that music is a business, as you said, and that's why I think you were saying the music business is here. And I'll give you an example. 3 or 4 weeks ago, I was in a in a virtual workshops, I was just talking about this thing again, and I put my email address there, and I said, feel free to, yeah. So I received like so many emails, but these emails were like just like, hello, my name is Brian, artist from DRC, and the good thing is that these emails were coming while I was still presenting. Okay. Yeah, and I said to them, please don't send me an email if it's not at least an EPK, because just an email means nothing about you. It's something that is actually embarrassing as an artist in 2023 to be sending, just a short-line email. I'm not going to even look at it. The good thing is that...
And it's also about them using the tools that are freely available. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yes, you make an EPK that says, this is who I am, here are some of the songs that I've done. But then you go further. You set up an Instagram account, a Twitter account, a Facebook account. You put some of your music on that account. You tweet about what you're doing. You post what you're doing. Do you know what I mean? Like, there are free things that are available for you to put yourself into the space for people to discover you. But if you're going to be that guy that says, I don't do social media, it's like, well, you're not being serious then.
Everyone there was looking at giving someone an opportunity or investing their time and money is going to want something that looks like it's programmed intentionally. And so that's why I just want to just emphasize on these EPKs. And for the artists in the room who don't know what an EPK is, it's actually just an electronic presentation of a work. It's your CV as an artist. And so when I say that to the artists that please don't talk to me, they actually made the effort. So, and then I gave them an example. I said there was a guy actually coming from Cameroon. He's now based in the UK, and he was coming to South Africa, and they wanted me to help them just find a gig. You know, artists are always doing that, and the guys who are really focusing on making money, they do that. When they're traveling, they're always trying to make, business out of travel. And I was saying to these guys, I have been using only this thing about, Stanley Eno to get him interviews, to get him shows, and that's all you need. So I gave them that thing, and I'm really happy to say that after that, I'm still receiving now. They need improvement, but I think these are some of the basics that artists in the room need to know that, hey, when you come to ACCES, for example, it's not about just a business card. That's something I get at the mall when I go to Mlimani City. What makes you different as an artist? And when you look at now, you guys, I just want to ask you, because she told me that we've got 10 minutes left. $1 billion US, that's the figure that's been written about Gamma, massive investment. And what does it take to actually run a record label? How much money are we talking about? Because you've been in both worlds, I guess.
That's a difficult, if not impossible, question to answer, because there are so many different factors that will determine what you need, right? Yeah. Based on what you're going to do and how big it's going to be. Yeah. And I think what we don't want to do is we don't want to intimidate people that are starting to think, I need $1 billion to start the company, because it's not true at all. Yeah. Again, I think what we have in this day and age is there are so many free tools because of digitization, the internet, social media, and just the way that things can move. Yeah. So you can start a record label with very little money. And what I would suggest is if you're starting from zero and you don't have capital, just focus on the one person that is talented that you've set your sights on, whether it's you, so whether you are the artist that you want to start the business for, or whether it's somebody else that you see. Because what sometimes happens is an independent company will sign 10 artists. One artist will be successful. Then what starts to happen is that one artist is subsidizing everybody else. And that artist becomes aggrieved because it's like, hey, listen, why is my money going to feed and to support everybody else and nobody else's? And then you also have some people in that team who are not really putting in the work and expect to get, right? So I think, you start simple and grow slowly. You don't have to have everything from day one. You don't even have to have a computer. You can go to a computer, those internet cafes, and you can use a computer to create the things that you need. So, You don't have to have money to spend on loads of equipment. You don't have to spend on offices. You don't even need offices nowadays, right? You can work remotely. So there are ways of getting started without needing. I think that's a sign that I must stop talking.
Yes, actually,
the mic
yeah.
down.
Thank you so much. Actually, I want to also open the floor and take some questions. Please.
That's if you guys are still awake. Are you guys still awake?
Yeah, we've got.
Okay,
yeah.
we didn't put you to sleep. Okay.
There's one question in the front. If we can have a mic, thank you.
Hello, my name is Hatitye. I'm from South Africa, Limpopo. I wanted to ask you, sir, how do we get a solution? I've been running my company for 15 years now. Limpopo is an unprivileged village when it comes to music. So I'm one of the founders of Limpopo House. So you find me as an artist manager invest in an artist with my money, pay for PR, pay for marketing, do everything behind, and then when your artists hit the big markets, then a big company from Joburg, for instance, comes and gives that artist a deal for maybe 5 years, releases hits, and then that's the downfall of the artist. Because once that artist is big-headed, they start spending money on Gucci's, and like you were saying, they don't know the value of money. They haven't seen 100,000 in their life, and now you start making it in a day. So it comes to a downfall of that artist, and then you go back to the streets, and then you assist another artist, and the same thing happens. So you find maybe you've built 10 brands, and only one brand has gone international. Like you said, Kalawa is a big company, but if we go back, every artist which was taken in by Kalawa Jasmine is now in the streets. So how do we get a solution to that? Because it feels as if we are just recycling, trying to build, and it doesn't go anywhere. If it goes international for a year, 2 years from now, it's a non-existent artist. So sometimes it feels as if we're investing in a non-money-making industry. Because honestly, there was a time after lockdown, I felt like, nah, let me just go to landscaping and quit music. But because I've lost a lot of millions and made billions as well and lost them again, it was like, because music is a passion, you cannot run away from it. Let me just try again. And I try it again, and I'm trying again. And that artist is booming now, but I still have that fear of another big company can come now and snatch that artist, and I have to start again, you know? It seems as if we're just making money for people to see and inspire people, and then not make your money back in return. So if you can tell us what we can do, maybe that can be in good use for a lot of people in the room. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to take 2 more questions and allow Sipho to address them at once. Okay.
You're assuming that my brain is smart enough to remember all the questions.
Yes,
and
I know that actually.
Okay. Thank you for the assumption. I hope I don't let you down.
Hello, thank you. Babilas Ndiaye from Senegal. My question is about the masters. Do you think, because nowadays some artists are selling their masters, and I just realized Jay-Z said no, he won't sell his masters. Do you think about Africa here, our artists our big artists like maybe Alpha Blondy or Youssou, should they keep their masters or should they sell it and use that money to reinvest us like they do? Because when you see somebody like Youssou, he invests a lot in Africa. So what's your point of view? Thank you.
Okay, Sipho, I'm going to allow you to go back to Rita, yeah?
Okay, thank you. So what I would ask you to look at is your contracts and how you contract with the artists that you're signing, right? And I say this on 2 levels. The one level is that, number one, your contract shouldn't be loose enough that whilst your artist is signed to you, they can go sign to another company. Doesn't matter how big that company is. If your contracts are well written, you're protected from that happening, right? So the first is to look at a contract from that perspective. The second, though, is to look at a contract from a partnership perspective rather than that artist label perspective. And it doesn't have to start that way, right? So it could be as the artist becomes more successful, look at how you update and revise that agreement to make them feel more like a partner. Because I can guarantee you, if an artist feels that this is my partner, this is not, I'm not signed to this person, they're not telling me what to do and how to drive my career, they are working with me to grow and develop my brand. If they start to feel that, and if they start to see it that way, they will choose to work with you. Yeah, you've got a follow-up question.
Yeah, we'll go back to that follow-up question,
Okay.
just in the
After that
interest
one.
of time, so
But
we can go to Babula's question.
That's the two.
Yeah.
And then the question about masters. I think it's a very difficult question to answer in a generic way, right? I think different people will sell their masters for different reasons. Maybe, as you're saying, they're raising capital to invest in something else. Or maybe there is a business that they want to start up. Some people, it's just a personal life decision that at a certain point, they want to almost retire. They want to sell their masters, they want to have the cash, and they want to be able to move into that other level or that other phase of their life. So I don't think it's a one shoe fits all in terms of should you sell or should you not sell your masters. I think the important thing at the base of that question, though, is that you own the masters and you have the ability to make that decision, whether to sell or whether not to sell. So I would say let's go back to that. Let's see more artists on the continent owning their masters. Let's see them in 5-10 years' time being able to sit down and say, oh, my catalog is worth, well, not 5-10 years, but maybe 20 years or 30 years, being able to sit back and say, look, my catalog is worth $5 million or however many $1 million. Do I want to sell or do I want to keep it? That's what I think we should be focusing more on, more than trying to say it's good to sell or it's not good to sell. I think that is really a personal choice down to the artist or to the individual. Yeah.
There was another question there. Please can we, Rita, I haven't forgotten you. I just also want other guys to ask questions. So we've got a question there, white shirt. If we can have the mic, please. Okay, we're gonna take 4 questions, starting from the white shirt. Yeah.
Thank you. I have a question. What are your thoughts on a local artist trying to create a brand that appeals to the international market? Like, how do you achieve such kind of a fit? Because I feel like it's quite an impressive thing to do.
Brand presence in your local market. So before you think about international and overseas, it's, build awareness of yourself at home. And literally it starts at home. It starts with the people in your neighborhood, in the area where you live. Do they know you? Do they know your music? Have they heard your music? Have they seen you perform? And then spread out. Do you know what I mean? So if you're living in Dar, then do people in Dar know your music? Have you been to the clubs where you can perform? Have you tried to be on the festivals that are happening so that they can see you perform? Have you done interviews on radio? Because through that process, you're also fine-tuning and redefining what your brand strength is. You see the songs that people don't like, the songs that they like. You learn how to speak in interviews and how to present yourself. You'll figure out how to do the right type of artwork and pictures and styling that work with the audience that you're trying to engage with. So before jumping to international, start local. Build out from Tanzania into East Africa, then build out into Central and West and Southern Africa. So conquer the continent before you think about jumping internationally. And I think if you can go in those stages, it works. And there's a number of artists that it's worked for. Yeah. The question about the difference between being signed to a major or an independent for success internationally. I don't think it's about the company as much as it's about the artist, the talent that the artist has, the focus and dedication that they have, then their ability to work with other people. So you can find the right people to help take your brand to next level, either as an independent or with a major, or even with just a team of people that are consulting and working with you. It doesn't, that there isn't one that works better than the other. I think the biggest misconception that we had, or that I had, is that majors will do it quicker and do it better, but that wasn't my experience. So I don't think that that is a necessity in terms of success. Yeah.
Yeah, we have run out of time, and so I'm going to end it with Maimuna. And after this, Sipho and myself, we're going to walk this way. So please, we're going to try to just moderate a few questions off the stage, please, in the interest of the next session.
Thank you. Thank you for a beautiful conversation. And I'm glad you're saying people can continue the conversation because we don't want it to end. It's quite interesting. You've mentioned a lot of times partnership growth with the artist. So why was it important for Gamma to be an unconventional company and to use a very unconventional way to work with artists? Why didn't you do like other companies, seeing the artist just as a product? Why was it important for you to do things differently?
Because I think what Larry saw is that the industry needed a new way of doing things. You know, it needed repair. It wasn't broken beyond the point of not working, but there were things that were not working, right? There were artists that were not happy. There were artists that, you know, have had public disputes with their record labels, and it's not just one or two. I think the model, again, the traditional model that existed needs to be changed. And we do this in every other part of our lives. Do you know what I mean? You start doing things one way, you discover that we need to change. I mean, the way my parents parented me is different from how I'm parenting my children. So why would we think that a model that was invented, I don't know, 1930s or whatever, should exist in the same way now when things are different? Even the way that people engage in music is different. The expectations of the artists, and also what artists bring to the table is different from what they were able to bring. Because if an artist that you're signing already has 100,000 followers when you're signing them, that's a lot of marketing that you're not paying for by virtue of that artist having done the work. So again, just being able to bring a balance in the ecosystem and a balance of power. And I think in Africa as well, we need that more than any other place needed it. Because historically, in certain countries with apartheid and things like that, black artists were even more negatively affected than other artists were. So we need to bring back some recalibration or finding a way of, you know, how do we make it more equitable? How do we make it fairer? And I think that's at the core of what Larry's trying to do, is just invent a new way for artists to be able to market, distribute their content and their music in a different manner than they've had the options to before.
Ladies and gentlemen, Sipho Dlamini.